What's up? What's up? What's up? It's another Monday, and that means Artist Pro Live is back, y'all. If you couldn't tell, I am absolutely not in my usual place, which I told you guys about I'd be doing previously, right? I just wanted to quickly check in with you guys here today for another Monday. Yes, before I get into all the formalities, what up, Oliver Blue? Thank you for coming by, joining the stream. I mentioned last week that this would be a new and improved. Well, it's new. It's not quite improved yet. Anyone who's experienced moving knows that it sucks. In fact, did you know that moving is one of life's top stressors? I forgot what the other list, what other items on the lists there are, but I do know that I've heard repeatedly over and over again that moving is one of life's biggest stressors. And I've moved so many times, dude. I've been in LA for what, like a decade now, and I've moved. Let's see. At first, I was in Hollywood, and then I was in Koreatown, and then I was in downtown, and then I went to Highland Park, and then I went to West LA, Santa Monica, and now I'm in Ladera Heights area 6 times. So that's an average of like a move every 1.5 to 2 years. Which I think when you're 20s, that's kind of par for the course. I mean, that's not even counting all like the traveling I did before that in Europe and living in different parts of Europe. But like moving sucks, dude. And I think I'm I think I'm at the age now where like I kind of like want to start to make some roots. I kind of want to start settling in different places. Or rather in one place. Actually, yeah, fuck it, in different places as well. I mean, I have a very strong connection to Europe, particularly to Spain, and I'd love to start eventually making roots in those different places. And I think that's just part of getting older, kind of being a resident of the earth for a period of time. But yeah, this is a casual stream, as Oliver Blue has mentioned. This is the Artist Pro Live show. Thank you for joining me again. If you're unfamiliar with the show, what we do here is that we talk about all things music business and creative business, actually, and what it's like to be a working artist professional in today's music landscape. We listen to music, we give each other feedback, we answer questions from my perspective and from your perspective. You can do so by using that little QR code in the corner or simply going to theartistpro.com to submit your different questions. And there are no rules. You can submit anything you want. In fact, now that I have my whole studio set up, in the works, I'm very much looking forward to making a shit ton of more videos for you guys. Specifically, I'm going to lean more towards YouTube, which makes sense since some of you guys are actually watching the stream on YouTube. And I do this for a couple of reasons. One, I personally, and this goes for you guys as well, in terms of something I offer as advice for you. You want to lean into the platforms that you most regularly consume yourself. I think I was really hesitant to get on TikTok because I wasn't on TikTok, and naturally there's basically a language barrier there, right? Like you don't know quite how to integrate with that community because you don't speak the language because you're not in the community. I consume more content on YouTube than any other platform, just full stop. I don't really, I mean, look, I consume social media content on Instagram and whatnot like everyone else, but I usually hate myself for doing it. Whereas when I go on YouTube, I tend to learn a lot more. And frankly, the way the algorithms are now situated is that we are in an era that we are completely rewarding short form content, and that has pros and cons. And short form used to mean like 2-3 minutes. Now it's like 15, 20 seconds. I mean, I'm sure you guys see these all the time on Instagram, but I feel like really good conversations and really good perspectives and really good, insights and conversations do not happen in 15 seconds. This is why podcasting has gotten so popular the last decade or so. I mean, podcasting has been a thing for more than that, but I feel people are starting to see that you need to have room to breathe in long form. That's what this is. I mean, this is a live stream that's basically one giant real time long form conversation. But I'm going to start leaning into YouTube and making produced videos that will speak to some of the questions that are asked here, which is why I really do appreciate when you guys submit questions using that type form, because I can have a bank to answer them more long form later on. And just other things that are on my mind. I mean, Artist Pro used to be a lot of just me talking about here's how to market yourself, and I so don't want to fall into the same crap I see so many people doing. Here are the 5 ways to supercharge your Instagram. Like it's been done to death, and it's uninteresting, and it's being served. That market's already being served. But I have other thoughts. on the general space of the music business. Now that I've been in it for a good amount of time now, and now that I'm interfacing with you guys, I mean, and there's a reason why I'm interfacing with you guys as well. So I'm looking forward to dropping videos. I want to keep myself to like one a week, but we'll see. And I also want to do so in a way that kind of showcases the spirit of what I'm encouraging. Like if I'm held to the gun of like this consistent content, which I get helps in terms of reach, but I don't want to live my life that way. There's a great YouTuber, I forgot his name, but he makes like music production videos, and at the end of all his videos, he says, "All right, thanks for joining, and I'll upload the next video when it's ready." That's kind of what I'm trying to lean towards as well. Like I'll upload the next one when it's ready. The only exception in terms of consistency will be this stream. I will try to never miss a stream at any Monday. The last two Mondays were tempting, especially this Monday. Like I'm still buried in a pile of crap, basically, with this move. But I do want to demonstrate commitment to the channel and to you guys that I will never try to miss any Monday, even if I'm traveling and on the road. That being said, if you guys do have questions or music you want me to listen to, go ahead and click or use the QR code right there in the corner. Head to theartistpro.com. In the meantime, while you guys are doing that, since I am moving, and as you might imagine, you're discovering a lot of you're looking at the clutter and you're discovering a lot of the things that you purchased in the past and acquired. And I acquired these three books that I've spoken about previously in other Artist Pro classes and even when I was at Icon and whatnot. And if you're unfamiliar with Austin Kleon, he wrote these. He's written a few books, but these three are the big ones. Steal Like an Artist is a big one. Show Your Work, and this is basically a series as well. And Keep Going. If you're in the chat, Oliver Bloom, looking at you too. Let me know if you guys have even heard of these books in the first place, and if you've read them. And I think that there's something that belongs on every artist's bookshelf, literally, as I'm building mine too. I've actually seen Austin Kleon give a talk at the CD Baby conference I spoke at many months ago over in Austin. Pretty cool stuff. And if you've not checked out his books, first of all, they are this small for a reason because they're very like illustration based. I mean, there's some text here, but you'll see like some of these are just like a whole page is just like that. You know what I mean? So they're very much like coffee table books, and frankly, they're great books to just have around and just pick up and like I mean, look, I know they're in sequential order, but I sometimes just like pick them up and just like boom, like validation is for parking. Modern art equals I could do that plus yeah, but you didn't. you know, um, keep a praise file, just little things to kind of keep yourself moving and whatnot. What up, the Impulse? What up, Ruslan? How you feeling, dude? Thank you for joining the stream today. The order of the books, by the way, if you go to Amazon, you'll see them all bundled up. You can buy all three. Steal Like an Artist, Show Your Work, and Keep Going. Steal Like an Artist is probably the most popular one because, well, the title is very, ear grabbing. But it's something that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit today and pull from some stuff. I kind of actually wanted to pull, I bookmarked a few things from each of the books just to kind of give you an idea of what the vibe is. And it's very interesting and thought provoking because some of these things may be counterintuitive, and the context of the book is also changing throughout time. So just to kind of pop to Steal Like an Artist, um, let's see. I was thinking of just basically. So what this book is basically implying here is that it's okay to be influenced. And what I mean, we've all heard the idea that like the way, or at least I've always subscribed to the idea of originality because and this, by the way, this does speak to this AI world that we're kind of entering now as well. But, what is original? What is originality? That's always the big thing. I feel especially as, independent artists, we're always trying to carve our own lane, find our own sound. The whole concept of finding your voice, finding your sound. Well, what are they really saying here? You know, finding your originality, right? Finding something that lets you stand out and lets you not be a copy or even a copy of a copy, which is kind of hard to do, especially if you don't use a voice, if you don't have a voice, if you don't sing, especially if you make instrumental, music, maybe electronic music. It's sometimes hard to find what your voice might be. But the concept here is that we're all influenced by something. I mean, we all grew up and was influenced by music to a point where we said, I don't want to just sit here and listen to it. I want to participate. And the way I've always kind of analogized it is I want to speak back. I want to communicate back, and I want to be able to, you know, provide the sound waves that are influencing me, which I think is something that's really, really cool. But in the beginning, especially as we start off, we're always look, we're copying our heroes, we're emulating, and that's always a thing. And I feel it's a fine line between imitation and inspiration, right? So this book is basically saying it's completely okay to pull from things and call them your own. And which is interesting is because I mean he I'll just start with some of the quotes that he's got here. You know, Pablo Picasso, art is theft. You know, which is basically what the idea is that you pull from all your influences. And I've always said if you can pull from every influence, not just music, pull from film, pull from books, pull from TV. I mean, I do that all the time. I've noticed that even the way like I deliver these live streams or my talks or even my videos, like I'm stealing a lot from like pro wrestling. I mean, you guys know this by now, but like, you know, I try to conduct promos, if you will, through my live streams. Here's another one from T.S. Eliot. Immature poets imitate, mature poets steal. Bad poets deface what they take, and good poets make it into something better, or at least something different. And that kind of speaks to what I've always thought about, which is in the beginning, you're always going to begin by imitating. That's just how it is. You know, you're gonna try to emulate, but at a certain point, my whole thing is like that's fine as long as you find another avenue to branch off to, or you somehow elevate that current art form, or you introduce something that might challenge that status quo. Because I really do feel, especially like I get a lot of this, on these streams and previously as well, people would submit music, and I think you guys have even heard me say like, oh, I can tell, like, yeah, you're probably like a year or two in. You can just tell because it's a lot of the formulaic techniques that are in place. Again, it's just fine. The sound design choices are what's currently being used, and it's fine, but you can just totally tell they're still in that imitation phase, which can lead the question back to you. Do you feel you're still in that imitation phase? And that's totally fine if you are, because it's fine to build the imitation and copy phase as a bed, right? As a bed for you to literally sleep in and live in. And but if you stay there too long, a couple of things happen. One, at least I've noticed this for myself, I think you tend to get bored. You tend to get bored and perhaps unmotivated because it's stuff that you've already heard before and probably not as good as the stuff you're trying to imitate, which I feel like you can't stay there too long. So you should always find ways to challenge yourself, and try to introduce things that quote unquote don't work or shouldn't work. And I think that's when the best stuff is usually made, when people try, to combine genres or combine instruments, or especially in this, everyone's a producer era we're in now, fucking with sound design and plugins and really doing things that should not work. And usually that's where the best stuff is. To finish the quote, the good poet welds his theft into a whole of feeling which is unique, utterly different from that from which it was torn. So again, stealing like an artist in this regard means stealing something, literally like not having no shame and taking a concept, but hopefully as a means to an end to branch off from. David Bowie, the only art I'll ever study is stuff that I can steal from, which is so interesting. I mean, because look, nothing. What is original? And again, even with this AI art that we're seeing in the AI music, that's not even around the corner. It's already here. It's all pulling from stuff that's been laid down before. The question is, when it comes to like sentient AI, like what will they do with that? How will they take what we've already done as humans and perhaps remodify or modify and reinterpret it in a way that we would deem as inspiration? Like, what is inspiration? Can a robot be inspired? I don't know. We don't know, which makes this whole thing fascinating. Let's go to the chat real quick. The Impulse says, haven't thought of it as long form meta conversation, listener turning to artists to speak back to the greater at large. Interesting metaphor. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've always thought as well. Like, why am I even making music in the first place? It's kind of because I've always been a listener, and I felt a big enough need to speak back. Like, I got something to say. In the beginning, it just, I'm just trying to use myself as the example, like, especially as a drummer, right? Like, I didn't learn notes or anything. I just learned the beat. I felt the rhythm. I felt the music. I feel like drumming. If you're leaning towards drumming as like your first instrument, I mean, at least to me, like, you're responding to the feeling more than anything. It's just like that the impulse, if you will. But I feel that like in the beginning, when at least when I was drumming, just I didn't want to be an artist at 11. You know, I was almost like paying homage or like celebrating, like, man, this stuff feels good. And before I was playing drums, I used to literally bang my head, much to my mother's dismay. I would literally have headphones on, my Walkman. Yeah, I'm that old. I'm 35. I had a Walkman when I was younger. And I remember leaning, laying in bed with my head to the side of the pillow and just head banging to the rhythm of any song, but not necessarily metal or rock, but just like that's how I started. I would bang my head, and one day my mom walked in on me, and she was furious, like, You're gonna scramble your brains," the whole thing. And that, I mean, you can kind of, I never really connected the dots to that until literally me speaking this right now. But that's kind of how the whole drumming thing started. Like, it was literally something, an impulse that was in me of like, oh wow, I really feel this, and then eventually that translated to my limbs. So yeah, I feel like that it was an obvious way to kind of begin as just to celebrate and just kind of enjoy music. In fact, drumming, I never looked at it as expression in the beginning. It was just I'm just jamming along. I'm just enjoying the music, and then eventually, you one may lean into the musical experience more so, where they want to now contribute and speak back and not just be a passive listener. So, I mean, yeah, I don't want to give away too much of this book because there's a lot of great stuff to pull from. But I think, I mean, look, don't we all do this as well? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm at like a festival or shit, even when I'm just like listening to music, like while organizing my new house, or back in the day when I used to go clubbing, when I'm at the club, I think all of us who are music creators, don't you all just kind of sit there and just kind of analyze? Oh, that's how'd I get that bass so tight? Like, oh, that's all right, cool. Introducing a new sub. Oh, polyrhythm. Okay, cool. Oh, cool. Dope melody. Like, we're constantly like analyzing. I'm always constantly analyzing, which in a way kind of ruins music sometimes. But I feel that's when I know music, a piece of music is really bomb, if I'm not even doing that. At least not on the first couple listens. But if it's truly, if it's truly enchanted me, I'm not even analyzing it anymore. That's usually a good way to know that music is doing its job. But yeah, I feel like I'm always in that kind of mindset too. I'm always just trying to like listen to something like, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna borrow that. And in many fields, it's not just music. I've heard people openly say like, I'm gonna steal that. Oh, I'm gonna steal that. But it's all about how you apply it to your own thing. Especially in this era of streaming and playlisting, there are so many copycat artists, and I feel like you can get only so far at that point. So check out Steal Like an Artist. If you want to just dip your toe into the whole Austin Kleon world, this is the one to start with. It's by far his most popular one. The one after that is called Show Your Work, and it's basically more about how to stay in the creative process, but also not falling out of the minds of others, basically. I mean, for instance, this one right here is called Sending Out a Daily Dispatch. The quote from Bobby Solomon is, "Put yourself and your work out there every day, and you'll start meeting some amazing people." I mean, the it's interesting because everyone has their own internalization, but I think out of sight, out of mind has never been more prevalent than today. I mean, I actually am about to enter another little social media hiatus. I tend to do this from time to time, where I'll basically just go away and I'll just delete the apps for a period of time because I need to not only recharge just from the mental exhaustion, but I feel like if you, and not just social media, by the way, but like kind of all content, I feel like if you're constantly consuming content, you're not leaving much room in your head for inspiration. I feel like you're kind of in this listener mode all the time. And I feel like if you're constantly consuming social, and by the way, I also steal from social too. Like, I'm not just stealing from musicians, but like I will watch a YouTuber, like a car YouTuber or something like that, right? Completely unrelated to music. And I'll be like, oh, I really love that presentation style. I watched a video today about a couples therapist or like a relationship therapist answering questions from Twitter. And I really loved the format. I was like, totally going to steal that, and just reapply it. And in some ways, it's not so much, that's not laziness. It's just more like you as the viewer, the consumer, you're sitting here and you're like, oh, this is working on me. This is absolutely working on me. What about it's working? Why is it? Oh, the cut, the editing. The editing's very crisp. I love the right corner for the questions and the left corner for the, yeah. I'm totally gonna just steal that. Like, why overthink it if it's clearly a format that's working? And by the way, naturally, while you might start with what you've stolen as the base layer, hope you're eventually going to start to find your own way of doing it. You're going to carve your own lane, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time, per se. So, something to think about. Oliver Blue says he misses his Walkman. I don't even know if I have one anymore. You remember the CD player Walkmans that had like the anti-skip technology? We thought we were so dope. Ruslan, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Bowie Code helps confirm a riff I've heard his song is 100% the bridge outro riff from Zepp's Stairway to Heaven. Probably, dude. Um, there's that. Is it Miley Cyrus? That I can buy myself flowers. I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, "Why does this sound like an Aqua song?" And sure enough, we were organizing the new place yesterday, and that Aqua song came on, and the chord progression was doing its thing, and I was like, "Oh my god, this!" And I was singing the song to Nina, my fiance, and I was like, "I fucking told you, dude." But that's okay. I mean, have you guys seen that video, the four chord song video? I'm sure you have. If you've not, I'll pull it up. But it's these comedians. They are just showing that every song is the same four chords, which is pretty eye opening. In fact, if you've not seen the four chord song video, let me know in the chat and we'll watch it together. It's worth watching because again, back to like listening and stealing, you'll notice over and over and over and over that it really is true. And did it? I forgot what band it was. Some band was saying they were getting interviewed and they're saying, yeah, we're just two albums away from making our four chord song because they just know like, dude, just do one of those and you're in the bag. Let's see. Ruslan here again. The I knew it moment, totally. By the way, have you guys submitted any music? Is there anything new for us to hear? I want to hear what you guys are working on, by the way. No, I don't see anything here in the chat. Anyway, so this particular book, After Still Like an Artist, is again all about finding ways to talk about yourself in non-cringy ways. But I think the concept here is that you showcase what you're working on in a way that not only keeps you of mind, but in a way that kind of illustrates the story. Which what is social media marketing if not exactly that? Like telling your story through forms of content and getting people engaged and whatnot. Yeah, Ruslan, throw in an older track, dude. Chris Kane in the building. What up? What up? What up? Yeah, you don't have to give me your newest stuff, you guys. It can be the old stuff, which again is a form of kind of what we're talking about here, which is why I feel like many of us, in myself included, we might give up on a track that maybe like performed okay or didn't like blow up per se, but it's old to us, but through the miracle of retargeting and remarketing, what's old to you might be new to someone else. I mean, how often have you guys heard a track on a playlist? I mean, this is what I do. I'll be on a playlist, I'll hear a track, which admittedly is being played in the background, which I know we don't like to hear that. But yeah, many times I'll be like, what is this? This is way better than the average background music track. And then I'll go check out that track, and sure enough, like what 2010, 2009, so it is amazing how music is all about context. It's just so contextual, you know. And then the last one, real quick, if you guys are new, Chris Kane and Confucius, what up, you guys? If you're just joining us, we are discussing the books by Austin Kleon, Feel Like an Artist, Show Your Work, and Keep Going. Which this is the order of the book. If I had to rank them, you know, I think in terms of usefulness, I think the second one was the most useful one. All only in the sense of coming up with different content strategies. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it was the most useful in terms of finding ways to at least infuse a narrative a bit more clearly than just here's a behind the scenes photo of me in the studio. Like who gives a fuck? Um, that's also something to consider as well. Back to this one. Oh, I'm so glad I remembered this because I remember talking a lot about this when I was teaching at Icon too. Remember when I was telling you that I steal from social all the time, and I've seen through the streams I've done here when I was doing them with BeatStars as well. You can totally see a lot of early stage artists are stealing from very established artists when it comes to their social content, and it just doesn't work, dude. Like, you don't have a whole lot of fans yet, so they're not as reactive as, say, Drake's is. Chris Kane can speak to this because he's been on a few streams where I'll see like a rapper posting, like they're just walking and they're just like showing their outfit, and like that's it. That's it. Or like they'll post a photo of them like on their phone. Why? Why? Like, no one cares, dude. No one cares enough because you just don't have that reactive of an artist. So when if you're gonna steal content, if you're going to steal, social content that's engaging to you, remember the context. If it's engaging because of a celebrity factor, right? If there's a really big artist and they did something like, yeah, like looking at their phone, posting that, ask yourself why you're reacting to that. Well, because you're getting, a behind the scenes or inside look to someone who has a interesting lifestyle because they're not among us plebes, amongst us normies, but when it comes to other forms of content that's still working on you and it's a relatively smaller artist, I feel like those are the things you kind of want to might borrow from. Just always, again, the question, it's not that difficult. Just ask yourself, like, what's working on me? Who am I following, whether they're music or name your interest or hobby, which is why I love going to YouTube for these sorts of things, because YouTube tends to be more longer form content, which leaves room for more of a relationship to be built. But just ask yourself, what's working on me? And how can I steal some of that? How can I just straight borrow some of those formats? How can I, borrow some concepts? How can I borrow certain elements that are just working for me? And again, to the imitation phase, right? When you're in the early stages, you're going to just basically be copying. And don't be ashamed about that. It's okay. It's okay to copy that, but ask yourself, once you've kind of landed on, all right, so this is more or less what is working on me, how can I take it one step further? What can I begin doing that's uniquely me at this point? So those are the three books. Oh, I should probably mention what Keep Going is about. It's basically the same kind of component of keeping yourself in a productive mindset. Um, I don't have the book. It's somewhere on the shelf. Again, if you're just joining, the reason why this stream is so casual is because I just moved into a new place and my studio is not even close to being set up. In fact, my room is just a room with boxes and shit in it and cables. So by next Monday, though, it should be all set up. In fact, I'll be very excited to show you guys that. But this is kind of similar to the book um, Turning Pro, the Stephen Pressfield book. It's a little more practical. Again, these books are super dope because, as you can see, a lot of it is just like heavy illustrations or one big quote or one big photo. So it's not too intense. But it's a lot of like useful tricks to keep yourself in a productive state. I wouldn't say creative state per se, but I love these books, you guys, and books that are like these, because if you're reading this and it has you go, oh, that's me, or like, wow, they're speaking to me, basically, it's coming from a good source. So these are the books. Check them out. I would recommend getting all of them. You can go to Amazon and buy all three together. I do recommend starting with this one, though. It's definitely the most thought-provoking and the one that really is a great way to reconceptualize and contextualize how you approach your own art. But in terms of like usefulness, I think this is a good one for sure. All right. Should we check out some music? Should we check out some tunes? I see the Impulse has submitted something. Thank you for doing that, Ruslan. Let's go ahead and pull up your track. It's a SoundCloud track. I'm going to pull it up over here. We're going to listen to some tunes. And again, if you guys have any questions, submit them now, please, using the type form, or we can be casual. It's a casual stream today, obviously. And you can throw them in the chat. Again, anything you guys are working on, anything that's on the business end of what you're doing, the creative end, a thought you might have had over the weekend, please throw them here in the chat and we can discuss them. We all know the Impulse, again, LA-based digital music for the unwashed masses. Dude, I love how you fucking think. He says it was one of the first tracks or singles he ever decided to put out. Okay. Inspiration wise, I had finally learned tempo shifts in my dog. He went experimental from there. Lyrics are just about the overindulgent party life in the city and not being able to even discern what the addictions are anymore. Oh, Ruslan. Yeah, dude. Very good stuff. He also has a question, but we'll pull that up shortly after we listen. So let's pull up The Impulse. The track is called Sinister. Am I sharing? I'm not even sharing. Delighted to see you, and as you well may know, we have waited so long for you to finally show. Well, I've fallen asleep as the world spins around. Nothing really for me as my feet touch the ground. Well, have you tried this pill? It's something new to prescribe. Such a heightened sensation that makes you feel alive. I guess I could just see what it's like for one night and decide for myself if I like it and the feeling is right. Well, there's never been a right time to live life on the brink, and I just might as well get in line before I overthink. And as I venture into wonderland and my body starts to sink, all of the people here just melt away. And dude, what the hell did you fucking put in my hey, feeling smooth with a dirty mix. Solitude no longer my own, or to my benefit. Latch on like a parasite. Oh, I've got symbiosis in the new hit. It was just another. Hey, I got this. It was just another unassuming Saturday. Friends are calling far away, telling me to come over and slip into the night. Cruising, dictating what's pulsating, undulating to the beat, hating how it feels just right. I'm not really one for socializing, but to my surprise, it paralyzed me mine in the dim light. I can tell that she's just the leader of the cult of the damned, but something tells me that I wanna be the number one acolyte. Look at you sitting in the corner, so sinister, noticing me from across the way. Mouth to mouth is what I'd like to administer, but I don't really quite know what to say. Pardon me while I'm shaking my perimeter for anyone else that's trying to play. God bless, I'm looking for my minister, so let me get down to pray. When you're in love with a nigga chick, that's dragging you under. Eyes fatigue, eyes bleach through an acid in the blood, and venom that stings like a bomb. And forget about the people that you know, the places that you go, the feelings that you thought you never saw. Doesn't matter though, cause the feeling is so damn good that you know I'll love her like no other. So tell me now, talking to me now. Who the fuck you know that elevates you up to you now? Who the fuck is gonna make you tremble and shake like an earthquake fault line when they start to go down? Love is antiquated, let's erase what we've created. Feeling saturated from the time we've been exasperated, overstated, but we know it's not exaggerated. Situations left us feeling so damn cold and jaded. Might as well seek help to a guide, follow through, gone, so I sit in for a new ride. Nothing ever finished, just a spiral of my new pride. Something wicked this way comes, and I just can't hide. I've seen too much of this place, and I need to spend some time away. Nothing makes me feel so alive, quite like the things that take my life away. Try to take it easy on me, I need a soft approach, even though you know I like it rough. And yes, I know you're straight poison, but goddamn baby, I just cannot get enough. Look at you sitting in the corner so sinister, I saw you from across the way. Heart to heart is what I'd like to administer, but all this fear gets in my way. Time to release the tension of my limiter and watch my anxiety slip away. Please don't keep me separated from your caress, just come out and play. The Impulse, yo. Isn't that so funny? Like the tracks that we think that the throwaways are the ones that actually like work. I think sometimes we just spend so much time in our own head, man. But I really dug that. I think clearly, like, I mean, I put it in the chat here, but like that industrial electro kind of vibe is something that I've always been into. I wrote like that. It was what did I say? It was post 2006 Marilyn Manson. I think around what was the album? It was after Mechanical Animals, they kind of went a bit more, yeah, a bit more like electro inspired and less like organic rock sometimes. But then, yeah, with the quick, yeah, I totally hear like the quick lyrical content kind of remind me of that. Obviously, the Nine Inch Nails influence is there, and then yeah, I don't know, the way like you like the desperation a bit in the voice there reminds me of Maynard, like Tool, Perfect Circle kind of stuff. So again, like the blending of all your influences, like this, it's so funny because like I totally have noticed this with like my own shit. I recently came across a hard drive where I found literally the first beats and pieces of music I ever produced, which sometimes like listening, like look, some of them I was just like, oh god, cringe. Especially at the time, you're like, oh, this is dope. But then some of them I listened to and I was like, it's so simple and it works because I wasn't trying to be so original. I was just like, all right, like, what do I like to listen to? Something that sounds like this. And it came together so easily. So I saw that you uploaded this track 4 years ago. And I'm sure then you probably weren't thinking so heavily into the weeds of like, how do I really, speak out and have my original voice? You're probably still in the let's just have fun and copy phase, which, dude, there's nothing wrong with that. But you're starting to see the seeds, of what a unique sound for you could be like. The only thing I don't have to say, and by the way, again, all this feedback is so like grain of salt, mound of salt, because music is all interpretive. But like the only thing missing, and this is something that I've only been developing more recently, as I'm starting to be a bit more. Ooh, I got to choose my words carefully here. Commercially minded. I'm not trying to make commercial music per se, but lately I've been collabing with people who are commercially successful. Let's just put it that way, and I can feel and hear what they're doing in terms of their writing and making things more memorable and catchy. So the only thing I would say here is that I really, number one, what I loved about this song is that it had a linear progression and that it felt like kind of watching a movie or something, right? Like I felt the story unfold, the tempo change thing was kind of cool. Little gimmicky, but I totally get it. You found the you found the feature in the DAW, but I felt like you used it to good effect. You used it as a tool, which is what it should be used for. But there was definitely a progression that I felt like we weren't going in loops. I definitely felt like we were constantly going somewhere, and the vocals kind of spoke to that because you definitely ebbed and flowed. The only thing I would say, maybe to focus on in your future writings, is how do you maintain that, right? That natural progression of things, that story like quality, and I would say for you to, how do you scale it back a little bit? How do you slow it down? How do you infuse maybe some more memorable moments? Because yeah, like you'll have the bars for days. Like you'll have really cool lines, but then how do you like maybe find one 4 bar and repeat that? Like repetition is part of songwriting. And I used to like foo on like repetition, especially like pop songs that have so much repetition, because like you'll look at the like the actual lyrics and you'll be like, who wrote this? It's so simple. But I'm noticing that when you infuse some simplicity, that could be very, very, very effective in keeping your songs memorable and frankly, so you would want to play them back over and over again. So that's the only thing I would say in terms of feedback from my end. I mean, I really dig the synth bass sounds. I really dig the sound design. I feel like the drums can smash harder and be more percussive. But I feel like I'm going to say that to everyone's music because I'm a fucking drummer. But that's the only thing I would say is that how can you start to infuse a bit more like elements of simplicity and elements of repetition to really have something that I can sing back, because I can't sing any of what I just heard back really. I can recall the vibe, but if there's something to be said about ways to really stay in your brain, that post 2006 Marilyn Manson I mentioned, if you listen to that record, wasn't Hollywood, it was the one after Hollywood, the Golden Age of Grotesque, I think was the name of that album. It's so much repetition, and he's got like those little bars and whatnot, but then like every pre-chorus is like the same, but like this every time you hear it, there's like he says it with a different kind of intensity. um let's see, the song "The New Shit," if you recall that one, like that one that's what came to mind listening to this. Go look that one up, or we can play it later, a little bit later if you want. But the New Shit, Marilyn Manson, is a good example of what I heard here, of just like industrial, but then it has a lot of that like repetition that I think would be really, really useful. Word. Let's see what he's got here. Impulse says, yes, yes, huge industrial influence. Oh, Super Love Puzzle. Art is compression. Do you mean that literally? Like how do you use compression? Ruslan here says, thanks for catching. That's actually a huge part of the vocal type execution. That manner and kind of delivery. Yeah, yeah. The desperation. That's the only word that I I came to mind. Repetition has been a weird area for me. Yeah, again, like I feel like sometimes repetition was used to be a cop out, but especially like listening to artists like Tom Petty, who I'm really, really into. I'm all over the fucking map with my musical interest and influences, you guys. So keep that in mind too. But again, so many of his songs, like the lyrics were so spread out. You know, like they're like, "It's all right if you want me. It's all right if you don't." Like Jesus, how simple can you get? But a lot of repetition. Confucius says here, "Peaches" by Jack Black is another example. He agrees on the drumming stuff here. Oh, here we go. Art is a compression of all your inspiration to make something new. Yeah, totally. That pressure cooker, right? And then exploding into something that might be uniquely yours. What up, 808 Diffraction? Welcome back to the stream, dog. Appreciate you being here. All right, and the Impulse also had a question. I'm just gonna screenshot this bad boy and then pull it up. And then Confucius, I see your track. Thank you for submitting another song. And if y'all got music, throw them in here. Oliver Blue, we got you. Chris Kane, thank you guys for submitting. Appreciate y'all. And the question he had here, and remember, these questions don't just go to me, they go to you guys too. Let's pull up the question in question. Here we go. Let me get rid of me real quick. This is the first place I would go to. Uh, Looking forward to what you guys have to say about this one. Let me your ear, I think is a good place to start. Um, Pull up your favorite tracks. You know, we've all done this, but I think it makes more sense to do here and there as well. Um, just throw in one of your favorite tracks into your DAW on top of a track that maybe you're working on that sounds kind of similar to it, and just A B it. Just notice, literally, just like, oh, their kick drum is kicking a lot harder than mine, maybe by 15%. Let me up my kick drum a bit more. Granted, it's a master track, so there's something to kind of consider there. So, oh, I'm half muted. Am I half muted? Sounds like you're half muted. Hopefully not. Um, yeah, basically finding other YouTube channels is a good place to start. But I was mentioning just having a reference track over the track that you're currently listening to, and just training your ears and messing around with different settings, compression, obviously, sidechain, etc. But I would say we got some audio dynamics by Kevin Marcus Moo. Is that his real name? There you go. Audio dynamics. In fact, let me just kind of pull that up here. Dynamics. Look. Ooh. I'm gonna have to look into this one myself. Let me just go ahead and do a screen share of it. There we go. Oop, let me get out of here. Oh, here we go. Maybe because the stream is thinking audio from Chrome, you Mac screen and coffee mic. Oh no, I think the stream is forcing all audio from Chrome when you Mac screen it. Ah, damn it. All right, fine, then we won't do that. Yeah, dude, YouTube channels is a good one, and those books I think are definitely a place to start. I would start there. I mean, I would lean towards Oliver Blue in terms of what he's recommended here because that book looks definitely the business. All right, Confucius. Let's roll on to you, dude. It's a freestyle, huh? All right. I love shout out to Confucius for always sending YouTube videos because typically they always have lyrics with them, and I always appreciate that. Let's go ahead and pull up Confucius. Do do do. Open the door is the name of the track. I'm gonna screen share and hopefully not get cut off. All right. Confucius says the track is called "Open the Door." It's some rap shit, and he's got a question too. So let's listen to the track itself. I'm gonna mute myself anyway, and we can listen to "Open the Door," Confucius.
Open the door, take a step in. Let me teach your ass a lesson. Shh, don't talk, let me begin with a question. Do you do shit for yourself or for the power of suggestion? It's like, what would you do for a Klondike bar? Shit, would you go extra hard? Would you go retarded? I heard you do your best as a starving artist, but I've been full and I still go hard regardless. Little bow wows, rocking all them chains, but Carlos quit frontin'. You ain't gotta impress me or nothing. You bluffing, you fake. End of discussion. I rap like I get asthma attacks, so you can kiss my ass, you whack. Matter of fact, you can't do that, you'll probably lick from front to back, you little faggot. Quick to suck on a nigga baggage. Claim you rap, but no one can understand it. You've got softballs, that's why I came underhanded. He's going ham, man, someone need to reprimand him. Look in the mirror, tell myself I look hella handsome. Inflated ego, increased libido. Combo, gold chains and speedo. Feeling like Don Cheeto, roll my burrito. Implant my seed and grow my ego. Fuck it up, like gas cars are doing to the eco. It's going straight to my motherfucking head. Damn, long way from thoughts are jumping off the ledge. Damn, hearing tongue tales that the soldier spun. Yeah, I live the wrong way, but I'm just having fun. Yeah, y'all wear brands that say just do it. When the going gets tough though, y'all don't do it. All you suicidal punks, put your Nike shoe in. Fuck boy slip, yeah, fuck boy fall, fuck boy broke his tiny balls. Whilst I slip my dick in his wifey's drawers. All you hypebees line up for shiny shawls. Hoping ladies with heinies will likely draw. Yo, I've been above that, I've been up on rap. They told me that I sound like a Mexican J. Cole. Y tú solo miras lo que yo te enseño. Yeah, bitch, aquí se habla español. In LA we fucking lit shit, you already know. If you like my raps, come take a pic after the show. Now my shoes laced up, speedy boy ready to go. Watch me, dip out in my Toyota Corolla. Always rolling up, so why I'm hardly sober. But I got the shit on lock like a fucking coat. Bruh, it's never over until I say it is. Don't make me bust a Columbine and come and spray you kids. Rah!
Parental advisory, explicit content. Hey, dude, two things about that I gotta say right off the bat. We mentioned it in here. I think Impulse mentioned it. Yeah, I think this is your biggest strong suit, dude. Is that your clarity, not just in terms of like the vocal like recording, but like every time I hear your stuff, I know exactly what you're saying, and it's pathetic that I even have to say like, "Wow, that's not as much as a thing as it should be." But yeah, you enunciate quite well, and especially considering this was a freestyle, very impressive. Considering that you're so off the cusp that naturally, I mean, I do it sometimes when I speak too, that like, consonants will kind of roll in and mash into each other. But you're always very clean, dude. You're always very clear. So, and that has me like wondering, like we've looked at your Instagram, dude. We've looked at your social media, and what always performs well on those platforms. And again, this actually works great because we're living in this micro content era. Is just talent, pure talent on display, right? Whether it's someone playing an instrument or painting, whatever it might be. Like if you're like this chill on freestyles, dude, like that's always so entertaining, even to like non like rap fans. I mean, people who obviously appreciate hip hop and whatnot, but like I feel your socials can be pumped with freestyles. And they could be freestyles, and what's going to make them interesting are two things. One, obviously, is well, let me rephrase. I feel like what could be cool would be intake or input and output. In fact, shit, you can have that one. Why don't you call a series on your socials or on your YouTube input output, right? So input could be, what do you want me to freestyle on? It could be something in the comments. You can do a live stream, right? And people could just be commenting on certain things, or it could be a thing that's trending on the internet, or it could be something that happened in the news. Input output. So like someone like throws you something like, all right, I've never even I just made a beat, or I found a beat. Do 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 do. The beat's rolling. All right, what's happening? Just it could literally be you scrolling Twitter or scrolling TikTok, and you can just be rapping on what you're seeing. You know what I mean? Input output, and you can make that like a series. It could be something where people are submitting stuff to you, or it could all be like reaction based kind of stuff, right? Which either one works. But the whole point is, how do we see just pure talent on display? How do we see just the raw talent on display? That's gonna be the most important thing. And I feel with your skills, your clarity, there's definitely something there, dude. There's definitely something that I think that's what's missing. I feel from your social media, dude. Like we've heard your tracks enough times, where I feel like that's something that we could really, really benefit from. So consider that. If you guys have any other feedback for Confucius, let him know. But I feel like since you've submitted tracks that are a little bit older, I feel like you've only gotten probably better at this since then. So keep that in mind. He also did have a question. I'm gonna pull it up and hopefully not get muted. I think I know why I'm getting muted, because I don't have two screens today. Again, this is a casual stream. Welcome to Casual Monday for Artist Pro. But let me pull up his question. Here we go. Is it better to be as artistic as possible? Can as you possibly can, sorry, to make yourself happy, or make generic stuff to gain popularity? Well, this is the question. This is the question. What do you guys think? I'm going to throw it to the chat real quick. Is it better to be as artistic as possibly can, to make yourself happy, or make generic stuff to gain popularity? Ooh. Well, I think it's also about how do we rephrase this too, right? To be as artistic as you possibly can. I think that should always be at the forefront of all of this stuff, right? The impulse. What is being alive, basically, right? I think it's important to ask ourselves this question, right? Like, what your goals are. And you asked a similar question beforehand, about open mics. I remember this. You asked about, does it make more sense to do covers or to do your own original thing, right? And I kind of had this response that I think applies to the same sort of component here of, does it make sense to give the people what they want, or do your own thing? I'm of the opinion of this. If you want to gain popularity, if you want to gain an audience, there is something to be said about giving people what they want. You might think of it as generic. Shit, I probably think of it as generic too. Generic, formulaic, but I feel that, like, in the same way how you want to remove the barriers to access to get to your content, to get to you, there's something to be said about meeting people where they are and then taking them on the journey, right? I feel like there's something about, all right, I know you guys like this stuff. I'm just going to leave it at that. It could be this format of pop music, this covers, whatever it might be, right? I know you guys like this. And if you think about it, when it comes to building a fan base and understanding that people are always going to have reluctance and resistance, it's just the natural order of our species. Like someone might be, so this just happened while I was on the stream. Someone was walking across the street and they're getting close to my door, and I noticed they just put like, they're probably like, advertising something on my door. For all I know, that could be a very nice person, but I have this reluctance, this resistance. It's part of our human species, man. And I feel like if you can give some, provide some stuff to people where they're like, oh yeah, this is something that I already kind of listened to, hence the generic thing, right? I feel like at least I feel comfortable listening to this person or consuming their content. They're making stuff that I'm already kind of consuming anyway. And once you kind of build that relationship, you can start to veer and pull them different directions. I feel like that's why covers work so well. Like people who make cover videos is that they get to know the person because they've seen that, oh, but we both like the same artist, so that's good enough for me. And that resistance and the reluctance kind of goes down, and then you're more likely to get pulled with them. If you start going for the high level stuff out the gate, people may not be so quick to come with you. I feel, they won't be as inclined to take a chance on you because you've not really established that you're for them yet. And one of the best ways to establish that you're for them is to meet them where they're at. So I think you want to have both. You want to be able to at least. This is why in the album worlds previously, you would have a band that would have, you know, two or three radio friendly songs, and the rest were like the shit that they want and that their fans like. But like every time an album came out, the record labels were always so insistent that they had some hits, or at least some radio friendly potential hits, to act as the wider fishing net to bring back to the boat that once they're back at the boat, some people might go, oh, I only like those two songs that you made for the radio. I don't like the other things. But thanks, but no thanks. Other people might be like, holy shit, like that was just the bait. Now that I'm here on the boat, I love the buffet. So it's all about you having a wide enough net to bring people in. So yeah, again, as Oliver mentioned, it's a loaded fucking question, but it all comes down to what your goals are. Chris Kane, be as artistic as you can, but also read the room of what's getting traction if you want quicker gains. It's a hard thing to kind of come to terms with that, yeah, maybe you got to kind of give people what they want. But he also continues here. However, your music artistry can be ahead of its time. People haven't caught up to it yet, which can make you pop in due time. Yeah, that's another thing too. I've listened to a lot of other artists, their older stuff, or even movies, that weren't necessarily popular in the beginning, but have gained popularity later on because they were perhaps a little bit ahead of their time. And then maybe this also happens too, someone who is more popular is inspired or influenced by that other thing, or steals from that other thing that at the time didn't necessarily blow, had a decent audience, but didn't necessarily blow. But then they just are inspired by that. And now that particular genre or style is popular because a person who's already notable just borrowed or stole from it and has introduced it to the masses. I think that's when we say people are ahead of their time. I don't know. There's a great book called The Tipping Point. I believe that's a Malcolm Gladwell book that kind of talks about when things finally tip into mainstream culture. And one of the things is just that you might have been doing something unique and original all along, but someone who's just more popular than you started doing the same thing or even heard what you're doing and did their own version of it. And now all of a sudden it's accepted, right, into mainstream culture and popularity. The Impulse. This reminds me of the story of Rage Against the Machine album, The Battle of Los Angeles. Zach thought that the track Testify was their best on their album, wanted it to be the single for the radio. However, radio peeps said Guerrilla Radio was the one to pick, and lo and behold, it blew up. Yep. Giving people what they want. All right, Oliver Blue. I have a track from you. Let's pull it up. Confucius, thank you for the track. Thank you for the question. I appreciate you every single week. Actually, I appreciate all you guys every single week for coming through on the stream. Reminder again that next week we'll have a bit more of a full-fledged studio, and I'll have some guests as well in the coming weeks. And if you want to support the stream, support me, support what we're doing here, keeping the show open and free to everyone, please support the stream there. There's a QR code if you want to contribute to the stream financially. No pressure, but it definitely helps the stream grow and continue as I devote every single Monday morning to you guys. Hopefully you guys can continue to support the stream. And if you can't support in any monetary ways, the next best thing, tell a friend, like the video that you're watching now, etc. It does help the stream in that regard. So I appreciate you all for joining me. Oliver Blue, let's check out the track. It's called Ice. And it says demo. That's totally cool. Bibio inspired club music. I got to hear this. I love Bibio. Although the last few, didn't he just release a new album? I haven't even checked it out yet. The one before that I thought was just, I don't know, it felt kind of phoned in. I love Bibio. I love older Bibio, but the last couple stuff, it feels like, oh, he's on Ghostly, the record label. It feels like Ghostly's like, all right, we signed you to like 4 albums. We need a new album. I don't know. It just feels a little it just feels a little phoned in. But let's hear it out. Let's check out the track Ice, Oliver Blue. It's a demo, but let's see what he's got in store for us. Oh, my mic is muted. I like that little ending. Burp. just a cold ending. I hear the influence of Bibio for sure. If you guys aren't familiar with the Bibio, by the way, check him out. He's got a lot of great guitar layering work. And when I mentioned in the opening minute there, I can totally hear the Bibio influence. He tends to also use a lot of tape machine effects, and he's got this like weird retro nostalgic kind of vibe, right? I mean, Oliver Blue, how would you describe it? But it definitely has this like, yeah. I mean, by the way, the guy like lives in a forest. I think basically he doesn't tour. I think the last time he toured was like 2010 or something. Played a show. He just doesn't play shows anymore. Um, but it's definitely got this like very not just guitar because he uses like ukuleles and stuff, and it's very like it's very like lo-fi y kind of tape machine kind of inspired stuff. But then I mean, again, I haven't really heard the new stuff, and sadly, I'm not very excited to hear the new stuff because I don't like the direction he's going in. But yeah, it's got this like disco-y, dancey kind of sit thing. So yeah, I totally hear it. The question, of course, now Oliver Blue, to kind of go back to our discussion from earlier, is how will you take the next step, right? How will you translate to something that isn't just Bibio inspired or derived, but it's just merely the jump off point, which kind of goes to another thing. How do you intend on making a whole body of work like this? I mean, let me ask you this because you didn't put anything here in the type form when you submitted the track. Are you planning on making music like this? Is this a different project? I'm not. It's funny. A lot of you guys, I feel like you submit tracks, and it's very kind of clear that this is part of the project that you're currently going under as the umbrella. But Oliver Blue, your tracks have kind of been on different spectrums, which is very good to hear. I'd love to hear the impulse if you're working on other kind of styles of music. Confucius, you got any other kind of tracks that you're working on? 808, etc. I'm kind of curious to hear. But yeah, dude, let me know if you're if like what do you have a home for this? Is basically what I'm asking. Like, is there another place for this music that isn't necessarily under the Oliver Blue name? Oh, Confucius, if you ever heard anything like it, definitely check out Bibio, dude. Particularly the first three albums, they're quite special. I think, if I'm honest, where he lost me a little bit was after the album. Hang on, I'm just gonna pull it up. Where did he lose me? I liked Ribbons. I liked 2019. That was a good album, I thought. But after that, it's been kind of nah, more miss than hit. Oh, we got a new member to the stream. What up? What up? What up? Uh, Isan Leonard, Isan Leonard. What up, dude? Send some music. What you got? Yeah, you go ahead and use the QR code, or you can go to theartistpro.com, and you can submit music there. The Impulse. I don't think I've ever heard anything quite like this. See how interesting it is, you guys, when you dig just even like barely a little bit deeper. We're influenced. You could be the one introducing a style of music. I don't want to say I introduce people to neoclassical, but actually, in some cases, not as an artist, but like just as a fan of artists like Nils Fram or Oliver Arnolds or Lambert and stuff like that. I would be playing some of that music, or I would share some of that music to friends. Especially this is like, maybe like 5, 6 years ago before it kind of blew up thanks to streaming. A lot of people were like, I never really listened to piano music. Like, really? Just gonna call it piano music, but more. I guess the reason why it's called neoclassical as opposed to classical music, because neoclassical tends to be a little simpler. It's not quite Chopin, it's just very easier to follow along melodies and more usage of things like synthesizers to make what would be considered kind of maybe a classical kind of arrangement, but done a lot simpler, frankly. But yeah, a lot of people might look at Rizik as like, wow, this introduced me to the whole neoclassical thing, and I'm like, that's. I even think that a lot of the stuff that I submitted in to my early days was kind of derivative of some of that other stuff. But hey, man, you never know. Let's see what else you got. Oliver Blue says, because I asked him a few more follow up questions. For demo, you got lots of room. Oh, this is the impulse to branch out. Yeah, again, like this is a great bed. Another thing that Bibio does is also takes his voice and uses it as an instrument a lot too. He'll just take like, I think you did it a little bit here, right? Or you'll take like a lyric or something and then really mess with it, and you do some sound design. He says, unfortunately, I can never seem to make the same thing twice. Hey, man, blessing and a curse, but it is all about finding a home for your music as well. Especially in the early days, it's kind of hard to be all over the place because you're like, what's my sound if I'm all over the place? He says also, I would love to work with more vocalists with stuff like this rather than just relying on my own perspective. Yeah, man, that's another thing to consider as well. Once you start collaborating with folks, your music will go in all different kinds of directions. Not to mention, from a marketing standpoint, collabs are great because you start to infiltrate other people. I should probably use a different word than infiltrate. You start to integrate more with other people's audiences. It's a great way to start spreading your chips to other people because again, let's just say that, Oliver Blue, you make a track like this, maybe under a different artist name or something like that, and you work with maybe a semi-established vocalist, someone who's got a decent fan base. This style of music might be something to them that they've never heard before, so they might label you as the person that influenced them, or that introduced them to this like retro '70s kind of vibe. So something to consider, dude. All right. We got a track from Chris Kane coming up, but in the interest of our newest member here to the stream, let's go throw up a track. Oh boy! Thank you guys for submitting. Ison, am I saying this correctly? Ison Leonard. We got a track here. It's a remix of Tupac's "California Just for Fun." And I asked him, can you tell us anything about it? He says he wakes up every morning, gym, and makes music. All right, word. Well, let's pull it up, Chris Kane. I will get to yours, but in the spirit of a new person here, let's pull up this track here. New member track, totally. All right, here it is. Let's pull. Oh, not that one. Let's share. By the way, thank you, Oliver Blue, for submitting your Bibio influence track. Here we go. All right. So it's a remix of Tupac's California Love, I'm assuming. Just a California, but let's pull it up. Here we go.
Elliot, 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 Elliot,
I don't think any of us are ready for that. Holy shit. Oh, dude. Is Confucius still in the chat? Yeah, yeah, he is. This totally speaks to kind of what we were talking about. So, first of all, let me also just pull up his gram here so we can all follow him. Uh, Isan, hopefully I'm saying that right, but I feel like I'm saying it right. Isan Leonard, I'm putting your gram in the chat. I know, I woke up too. I'm putting your gram in the chat. Actually, sorry, let me just do it like that. Mm. Everyone go give him a follow because that shit was sick. Wasn't expecting that. And if you're new to the stream here or you're just joining us, first of all, again, welcome to my casual stream as I just moved into a new place. So this is not the normal setup, not the studio environment that I'm normally in. But yeah, we listen to everyone's track and we give each other feedback. And earlier Confucius here, Super Lopez Bros, had a question about you know, do you make quote unquote generic or the cover stuff to meet people where they're at, or do you do something a little more original? And I feel like remixes is a great blending of the two, is it not? Like the second the here, let me pull it up one more time. Actually, yeah, it's we got multimedia capabilities here. I don't have to talk about it. Let me just kind of show you. Once this part kicked in, let me pull it up. First of all, like here, so what was that 30 seconds in, I'm already like, all right, this is a groove. This is very well mixed. And then once this kicks in, like, dude, everyone knows that part. Everyone loves that part. And since it's so familiar, Confucius, this goes to your question. Since it's so familiar, we're going to take the second that part drops, we're going to take in all of the emotions, all the memories, all the context that drop has for us, that California love part, and we're basically going to borrow it onto his track. I've never heard this song. I never heard the artist, but just that one like appreciation for this song as a remixer, right? And you reintroducing, recontextualizing what a great song. I'm already falling in love with the artist. You see how it's like I totally understand how it's like, it could be seen as a cheap trick or something like that. But right now, you know, right off the bat, Isan Leonard is telling me I love Tupac. I'm thinking, oh, I love Tupac. Go on, I love this song. Well, I love this song too. Go on. I love this part of the song, but let me reintroduce it to you. Let me play it a little faster, and now let me put it in the context of a club dance track that's mixed very well, that's hitting really hard, and instantly I'm gaining favorability. So do you see how quickly in 30 seconds my guard got dropped, completely dropped, and I'm left vulnerable? I'm left completely vulnerable to get infused with all what he has to say now. So given the way this remix was structured as well, I thought it was a great way to introduce us to him, right? Especially as a new artist. It's a great way to say, hey, here are my influences. Here's the stuff that I'm into. So someone like me goes, I'm into it too. What else do you have to say? And they reintroduce that song and at the same time introduce themselves. You're in. You're in. So it's a great way to bridge the gap, Confucius, to your question of making stuff that people quote unquote want already / generic, while also infusing your own artistic component into it. So well done. And in fact, he did submit also his Instagram channel. So let's go ahead and pull that up and give feedback. Again, that's kind of what we do on this channel as well. Confucius, yet there you are in the chat. Actually, let me just quickly pull up other people's comments. If you're still here in the chat, Isan, here is some of the feedback. The Impulse says here the speed of the track matches how fast some of y'all be racing to the 101. Man, I swear, totally. Yeah, totally. Did not catch up. Did not expect to hear. Oh, he says it's releasing tomorrow. Oh, very nice, very nice. All right. Well, let's definitely pull up the his Instagram, give him some feedback because that's also what we do here. We talk about content. And I know some of y'all don't like that word, but it's kind of where we're at now. All right, let's. I'm gonna remove. Okay. Um, Isan, let us know where you're at right now, dude. So I'm gonna click the link tree here. It's gonna put me to other things. I'm gonna pull up your Spotify while I'm at it as well. But it's pretty minimal. Obviously, it's very picture based, and we don't get to see a whole lot of the personality at the moment. Oh, am I still muted? Can you guys hear me? God damn it, this thing sucks. Let me. Oop, no, no. Was I muted that entire time? Hopefully, I was not, but you guys can see for yourself. In fact, just to make things easy, you guys can pull up. Okay, cool. You can hear me. Uh, you can pull up his gram too, but it looks like only when I go full screen, huh? It does that. This will all be fixed next week when I have my normal setup. Um, but aside from seeing, you got management, Two Dutch, Mr. Freedom Records, Cat Music, Music Romania. Yeah, all I can see is that that's what you look like. Who's excited? Clearly, no one, but that's okay. Uh, dream collaboration. Now, yeah, it's a lot of you in some streams, and that you're okay. All I picked up from is that you play drums and you like Audi and you DJ. We're gonna need a bit more content from you, though, dude. It's relatively minimal. Did you do a purge recently? Did you clean up this Instagram? It looks like you did something previously, and then you kind of removed a bunch of content. Um, that's fine for now. But let me go ahead and also just pull up the Spotify. And okay, it's nothing much else here. Yeah, dude. So I think number one, hopefully you stick with us on the stream because we talk all about content strategy in here. I got you Spotify. Yeah, let's looks like only one track on it. Um, you got to kind of find what you're uniquely doing. Obviously, it sounds like hard and generic as fuck, but there are so many DJs, and like for instance, this one track I would love to see. So you're saying this track releases tomorrow. I haven't seen anything on your Instagram that informs us why you chose this track, maybe what this song means to you, where you were when you first heard it, what your other hip hop influences would be. So to give you an example, I saw what like a build up campaign would look like on this track. We should already be at least familiar with what the song is going to be. Maybe you mention, any Tupac fans in the audience, or maybe giving some teases. But again, since you don't have a big audience, it doesn't make sense to, keep dingling a carrot in front of people when, you want to remove all barriers to access. So maybe you would have something like a week ago, you would have said, super excited to be dropping my remix of Tupac's California Love. Maybe like the next day you would say, I just dropped a playlist on Spotify of all my favorite West Coast hip hop tunes, for instance, right? To get an idea of, how you're influenced and how hip hop has influenced your electronic music. And then a couple of days later, you infuse more electronic tracks to say like, here's, I just added a bunch of tracks that are, West Coast hip hop remixes that I really, really dig, just so we can really start to get an idea of the kind of music that you're doing and that moves you. And then from there, maybe the next day you would post a quick video of you in the studio previewing, like, all right, guys, the track comes out on Tuesday, but here's a quick sneak peek, but like literally you speaking in front of the camera, opening the DAW session, and we can literally see like the sample. People love also seeing like how the song was cooked up. So maybe we see like where you chopped the sample from, like a before and after. Here's the original. Here it is sped up because you did drop that one speed, that one section where the track had an elevated BPM. Maybe showing different versions of the song, maybe like having like literally having the sample like California Love on the MIDI controller, right? And then playing California Love, just like other ways to show that how you've manipulated the music, because that's what you're doing, right? As a remixer, you're taking the existing track and you're opening it up, right? Let us see you doing some of that. If you're not actually performing with an instrument, you got to kind of showcase how you, the producer slash remixer, are basically like a surgeon, like a doctor in this regard, and you're cutting open a song and putting it somewhere else. How can you perform that, right? It's one thing to hear you remix something and then just play it back. Like DJing on Instagram isn't necessarily like performance oriented. What are we really beholding? What are we seeing you do? Nothing. Nothing really, but since you did produce the track, how can we see you cutting open the song? How can we see you in your DAW messing around with this, showcasing the production, the producer at work, not just, the remixer DJ, because there's nothing really engaging about that. But what I just gave was a very off the top of my head example of ways to showcase you, the person, because the music is always a way to get to know the person. How do we showcase the individual? How do we showcase the talent? What's the talent? Where is the talent? And it's not enough to see you just DJing, dude. We got to see you in your DAW, cutting open the track, messing with it, manipulating the track, showing what it's about. So by the time it comes out, we have all this context. We know where you're going. We know what's inspired it, and we've enjoyed it. And once it's out, the work doesn't stop there. You got to keep reintroducing the song, maybe showing a video of you performing it out somewhere, showing a video of someone else playing that track. As someone who's worked a lot with different DJs, these guys included Desert Hearts. Whenever we were promoting a track that one of the producers just put out, especially when we were doing campaigns with Beatport and outlets like that, they would always ask for videos of either the guys themselves DJing it out, or better, someone else playing that song. And it was never like, we don't want to see the guys in the booth, doing this. Like, we know they're feeling the music. We want to see the audience. So the videos that always worked the best when it came to Beatport sales in particular were videos of the crowd just kind of going wild. Let's just see the crowd reacting to this. And then, of course, there are other ways to do that with today's TikTok generation. And you can do mashups, duets, etc., where you have different videos synced to your track. So the continuous sustained promotion of your track is what really matters here. So it's not so much the buildup when you have a relatively small audience. This applies to everybody. The buildup isn't so much as important as the sustained promotion, because in the buildup phase, the only people that are going to care are the fans, the already initiated, to get them kind of excited. But they're going to listen to it anyway. What really matters is the sustained promotion, because if you think about it, if you're promoting during the buildup, but there's no call to action, I can't go stream the song. Like, all I can do is get really excited about it. That's fine for the people who are already on board. Once the song is out, that's it. Anyone can now stream it, share it. There's more action to be had around the music, which is why the second half of the campaign, the post-release content, is what matters truly the most, because it's the way to build the most roads to your music. And you've got to consistently keep going, because, earlier in the stream, we had music from The Impulse and Oliver Blue, both of which said, oh yeah, I'll just send old stuff. I'll submit tracks I made a long time ago. It's old to you, but to us, it's brand new. So as you consistently promote your singles over the course of time, there's going to be new listeners listening to quote unquote old music, but for all they know, you made that shit last week. But the only difference is now they can actually listen to it. It's there, it's ready to go. So those are things to keep in mind. I appreciate you submitting, dude. I was really, really impressed. Make sure you guys go follow him on the gram. I'm going to follow you from the ArtistPro channel as well. And join us every Monday, dude. I really, really dug the track there. It was super, super good. So thank you for doing that. Chris Kane, it's your time, dude. It's your turn. Chris Kane, one of the loyal people here, who submitted an upload. Okay. Oh. And now I got to play it from. Okay. So allow me to quickly translate this into a SoundCloud. If you guys got any other questions you want to throw in, do it now, by the way, because this looks like to be our final track of the day by none other than Chris Kane. I'm just going to quickly throw you on a SoundCloud so we can stream the track. He did submit with an upload. All right. All right. Chris Kane's track is ready to go. Where are you? Chris Kane. This track is called Hold My Drink. He wanted to tell a story about the 3 stages of drinking: confidence, anger, and sorrow. Here we go. Motivation was being hung of the day I made this. Was being hung of the day? Behind the day, perhaps? Not sure. Let's pull it up. Chris Kane, Hold My Drink. All right. I'm going to full screen because I don't need to talk. And here we go. Was it taken down? What happened here? Oh, he was hung over that day. What happened here? Is it? Oh, I just uploaded it and it went away. Let's try again. Chris Kane, what happened to your track, dude? Are there any samples on the track? If there are samples, SoundCloud may not like it. Let me make sure this. Oh yeah, it works for me. I wonder what's going on here. Let's let it load one more time. In the meantime, again, y'all, I appreciate you guys coming. Oh, you have it copywritten. Oh, that might be it, dude. If it's copywritten, I think SoundCloud's going to be like, nope, this ain't your track, dude. There might be a way for me to play it elsewhere. Hang on. Let me see. Let me just give this one more try. If this is the case, then damn, SoundCloud works fast. All right, I got it. Let's listen to it before they take it down. Here we go.
The producer I was telling you about.
Such a dramatic ending. Yo, dude. Chris Kane's another one of those, right? That every time he submits a track, you never know what you're gonna get, man. Um, Look, another well-produced track by Chris Kane. I feel like the only thing I would say, well, first of all, I actually have a question. Like, what is the application for this track? Is this meant to be some sound library stuff? Was this like an original release? Is this something for people to, was this under another alias perhaps? Is this, it's very playlist friendly, very playlist friendly and music library friendly as well. I'm just kind of wondering what was the application here because, as a multi instrumentalist producer, dude, you're all over the place, but I feel like you're so good at focusing in and narrowing in on projects. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, what is the project here? I wasn't expecting this one. I mean, I'm sure people could rap on it or sing on it too, but it's got a lot of good instrumental qualities in its own right. Have you thought about, by the way? I mean, the one thing that really caught me here was that the strings were very cool, but I feel like what would take it to the next level is if you went through something like, um, you know, sound better or even like a fiber. I'm sure. Like I think what you have here is a good bed for strings, but if I was going to be really serious, quote unquote, with this track, and had just even a little bit of budget, um, sending it to a violinist or a small little chamber for not that much money these days, but like, yeah, here guys, here's the arrangement, here's the chords, here's the key that we're in, but like I feel like that's the thing that's going to really take it to that next level because I asked the bass popped out at me. I was like, that sounds like it was played live. The drums sounded like they're a bit of a loop, which is fine. But again, as a drummer, I was just craving a bit more variety. Like, give me a couple fills, a couple little, but like stuff that should still feel kind of organic because it was still relatively loop oriented, which definitely kept like a driving feeling going, but I feel like something like this, it's good library music, but I feel like another thing to really let it pop out in a library for sync, especially, is replace the drums, which can still be looped, but maybe like just have a live drummer give you a couple fills as well and splash those in between. Because if you're trying to go for that spy movie thing, like you were saying, I picture like James Bond with like the big band behind him. Well, you're gonna have a live drummer do some, fun little splashy fills. The bass definitely is the only thing that kind of really popped out as the alive component. But I feel if you have the strings on top of that, even if I could just hear some of the imperfections of like a single violin and maybe a bit more melody with the violin, that would bring it to that next level of something that would really truly feel alive. So that's the only thing I really got to say, dude. Other than that, super, super strong track as always. Chris Kane, as always, submitting tracks, as always, here in the stream. And I want to thank you guys for joining the stream. I think it's going to wrap up today's casual stream. I appreciate you guys being here. I wanted to make sure that I never miss a Monday with you guys. But I guess the housekeeping items here are, again, next week we'll be in a full studio finally. Next week, I'll also begin hopefully bringing in the first guest, pending their availability, which I got to follow up on. I want to thank the new folks. Isan Leonard, thanks for joining the stream, dude. I really, really do appreciate you joining the stream. I want to thank the usual heads: Confucius, Impulse, Oliver Blue, Chris Kane, 808 Diffraction even made a quick cameo. Appreciate you popping in. Dan Dobie also made a cameo in a way too. I appreciate you guys. Join me next week, Monday, for basically the new season of Artist Pro. We will be joined hopefully by a special guest there too. Keep submitting your questions. Yo, if you guys got questions throughout the week that you're working on, something comes in your brain and you want to have it addressed on the show, the door is open 24/7. If you go to theartistpro.com, the door is constantly open to submit a question, to submit your music. Just send it over. You will get priority on the show, especially if you do it beforehand and I'm prepped for it. You'll definitely get a priority slot on the show. Other final housekeeping item, if you want to support the show, there's the QR code to submit any monetary support you guys can. Always appreciate it. And again, if you can't support the stream monetarily, you can always support the show by telling a friend, inviting new people, having them submit their questions and their music. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please like the video. It actually really does help the stream. Otherwise, I appreciate the usual heads here. Thank you guys so much for your continued support of the show. And I'll see you here next Monday for the new, truly this time, new and improved Artist Pro set. In the meantime, stay up with me on Instagram, Twitter, etc. It's just at my name, at Hisham Dahud, and follow Artist Pro at Artist Pro on all socials as well. Till then, have a lovely, fun, and safe week, and I'll catch y'all on the next stream. Peace out, you guys.